Hey there, welcome back to another video. Today I want to take a first look at the new Son hub dynamo, the 29S. They are being produced in Tübingen, Germany. Actually, my father has owned a Son hub dynamo since 2003. This one is still rolling and was being used daily for many years. There's a reason why so many people going on world tours do choose a Son version. Obviously, there are also other hub dynamo versions on the market, but there are certain things I really appreciate about the Son hub dynamo. One being that it is produced locally in Germany and that they have such a good reputation for being very durable. Now, there's the dynamo, and then also included is a manual. Also included a coax socket, that is the adapter from the light cable to the dynamo itself. Now the first thing you notice is its rather unique shape. To the Son 28, this looks immediately a lot more sportive and less noticeable. About a year ago, Shutter Precision together with DT Swiss launched a version of the PL7 which brought a bit of attention to the whole hub dynamo game, especially in sportive applications, and I believe that the 29S version is Son's answer to that, and I strongly believe that this is a real alternative. If you want to go into the nitty-gritty about the power output, I recommend an article from Ali Denham from Cycling About, where he took a closer look at a test comparing all the different models. According to the test, the 29S version does give out more power, roughly 20%. They somehow moved those magnets and coils to the left hand side. It makes the dynamo look very sleek, especially because you have the brake rotor on this side. It covers the bulky part, and normally you can recognize it immediately, whilst on this one it isn't that easy, especially on road and gravel bikes, which are now being used more and more also for tours. It's a really nice change, just looks wise. Up to now you can only get the new model in black. This version uses straight pull spokes, which is also something more seen on road or gravel bikes. Now the new model comes in 3 different versions, one of them being the one I have, which has 24 spokes, and all of them have a tangential lace pattern. This means that the spokes on both sides cross each other. It comes with 12 spokes on each side and only with a center lock adapter. The next version are actually both of these. They only... crazy. Huh? The next version comes either in 16 and 8 or 16 and 16 spokes and has a radial lace pattern on the drive hand side. It always has 16 spokes on the brake side, and you can choose whether to go with 8 or 16 spokes on the drive hand side. The reason why I was so confused just now is that the third version had the wrong picture, showing the first version with both sides having a tangential lace pattern, but actually the third version is the second one, going by the name TR, with the only difference being the standard used for the rotor mount. One is center lock and the other uses the 6-bolt standard, but both have radial spokes on the right side, which I didn't want for different reasons. Due to the spokes being angled, the torsional forces produced during braking are distributed and absorbed more effectively. Based on how forces act in a wheel, having the spokes at an angle will improve the handling of torsional stress, which is being introduced when braking. A colleague, also a bike mechanic, who has already built up a wheel using the new 29S but the TR version, has received feedback that it causes vibrations, which hypothetically could be due to the spokes being laced radially. Whether that is actually true or whether that was due to something else, I can't tell. And even if it didn't make a difference, I think tangential laced spokes look nicer anyway, having a similar lace pattern on the rear wheel, and I also already had the suitable rims. I visited their booth at this year's Eurobike, and they also had a wheel set from Pyrope, but this isn't something from Son, and if you're interested in a wheel set using Pyrope spokes, but have the latest and greatest hub dynamo from Son, then check them out on the Pyrope website. Another thing that is special about the new model is that it has the coax socket directly integrated into it, and normally there are 2 pins sticking out to which you attach these shoes which are cramped to the cable, but this has certain disadvantages as they are sometimes a real pain to take off and put back on, even risking breaking them. So Son does offer also an upgrade kit which enables you to use the coax system, but on the 29S it is standard. The coax socket does away with only one connection and not two, and it is pretty easy to take on and off, which reduces the risk of harming your cables. One reason why most hub dynamos fail eventually is because moisture gets through the seals of the bearings into the hub dynamo, and then the magnets and the coils eventually corrode. Very special about all Son hub dynamos is that they have a pressure relief system, and the way it works is actually pretty simple. It is a little tube which is wrapped around, and one end ends in the dynamo itself, whilst the other one ends to the outside. This allows the air pressure inside and outside to equalize, preventing a vacuum from forming and moisture entering through the bearings. The problem is, if you apply too much grease on your axle and install it, that the grease actually blocks that hole, blocks the entrance, and by that preventing the system from working. So keep that in mind when maintaining your axle, because that is a unique feature to these dynamos, and it would be a shame to lose that advantage, especially since you also want the hub dynamo to work as long as possible. How does the new 29S version compare to the famous 28? I've touched on some points, one being the looks. The new one is a lot sleeker and not as bulky. Also, you can use straight pull spokes. The 29S offers about 20% more power. This will charge your devices quick. And also, if you have a light with a high beam like I have on my Outback, then the light will stop to flicker at lower speeds. The 29S is also lighter, comes in at 388 grams. Now, where there is a noticeable difference is price-wise. The newer 29S model will set you back 439 euros, whilst depending on the specifications on the 28 model, it will set you back 319 to 349 euros. Because this is a relatively new model, it isn't available in so many variations. It is only compatible with a 12 by 100mm through axle. The question which one you should get is therefore also determined by the standards of your bike. If you are looking for a suitable hub dynamo for your touring bike, the 28 version is great as you can go up to 36 spokes. Another advantage is that if you have a touring bike with a steel fork, like for example on the expedition bikes from Tout Terrain, we use a direct contact, making these pins superfluous, and therefore only by installing the front wheel into the fork you will have contact and you won't have to plug in the cables onto the pins. This is an even easier system than the coax adapter, and whilst the coax adapter is better than using the pins as it's not as difficult to take it on and off, with the direct contact you don't need to bother to take on and off the cables at all. Also, as the 28 version uses J-bend spokes, the chance of you finding replacement in case you break some will be much higher. Both have their advantages and disadvantages, and check your bike for compatibility whether the 29S version is even an option. If so, think about whether it's worth the additional price for you and on which bike with which purpose you want to use the hub. If you already have the 28 version, you might ask yourself whether it is worth upgrading to the newer model. Generally, I wouldn't say so, because the upgrade will cost you a lot of money. Obviously, every person has their own reasons. For example, if you have a light with a high beam and you are cycling in the dark very often, then it might be actually worth considering upgrading, as you can still sell your older wheel and reinvest that in the new one. If you have a touring bike, I wouldn't recommend it, especially if you use the direct contact. If you're using a charger, then the 20% more power might also be appealing. To sum it up, I would generally recommend going for the 29S version if you're going to use it on a more sportive bike. That is also what Son designed this for. And if you're looking for a touring bike, the 28 version is still a great choice, and in some cases even the better one in my opinion. My personal plan for this dynamo is to build a wheel set. I'm going to build up a new gravel bike, the new Tout Terrain Series, and I'm not going to use this to power a light, but instead the new Plug Pure 7. And because it is a very sportive gravel bike, which I'm also going to use on bikepacking trips, having the ability to charge my devices on the go is something really practical. Actually, I'm not going to build the wheels myself, but instead Simon from Simon Rad Service. He is also the one who will also build up the wheels for Anne's Outback. If you're interested in the wheel building process of these wheels, be sure to check out that video. On the gravel bikes, I'm going to go with some higher rims. I will also go with the new Shimano GRX 1x12 Di2 group set, so stay tuned for a review and some nice bike build videos. This brings us to the end of this video. I hope I could give you some insights into the new 29S model from Son and make the differences clear between it and the 28 version. If I have missed anything or something was unclear, be sure to write a comment, and I would also be interested in your experience with hub dynamos, particularly with Son, but also from other manufacturers. Until then, I wish you a nice day and see you in the next video. Bye!